This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian.
Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast, where we are watching the best movies ever made according to IMDb. Our mission is kind of getting into the last year here, huh, guys?
That's right.
Sure is.
Home stretch.
Home stretch, kind of.
And then I won't have to talk to you guys ever again.
Yeah, I was thinking
That's
about
right.
this. Like, we're just never going to talk to
That's
each other
right.
again? That's going
God,
to
no.
That's
It's gonna be weird.
That's right. See ya.
At the end of 8-year project, we're just like, all right.
God damn.
All right, so that was
Have a good
movies.
life. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
That was a decade. Fuck. This week we're watching number 55, which is the German movie The Lives of Others, directed by Florian Henckel Von Donnersmarck. The synopsis is, in 1984, East Berlin, an agent of the secret police conducting surveillance on a writer and his lover finds himself becoming increasingly absorbed by their lives. And I think this week, I forget what we've been doing. I used to write this down, but I don't. Is it TC's turn to go first this time?
I don't know.
Who wants to go first? TC, you want to go first?
Chip?
I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
I go TC.
Okay, so this movie's in German.
There you go.
So I got that much down.
Set in Germany.
Set in Germany.
They speak German there.
They do. There's this thing called the Stasi,
Yeah.
Correct.
and they're listening in
secret
on
police.
folks.
This is
Yeah,
the West Germans.
Yeah, they
The
want to
GDR.
hear
Or the
everything.
East Germans, rather. What do I know?
They're listening to a bunch of creative types.
That's right. Artists.
Yeah, artists. Yep.
Despicable,
that's about it.
disgusting
That
artists.
pretty much sums it up. That's the movie. So there we go. That's done.
All right. Thanks, TC.
No, this was a pretty interesting one, actually.
Yeah.
It had a lot of good, I don't know, it just looked good. I don't know what it was, but
I did,
it
yeah.
just looked really good.
Good-looking people. I thought the
Maybe that was it, too.
charismatic-looking
Yeah.
people, I thought, too.
But yeah, something about the film grain and the way it was, shot and
The colors and the flatness.
The colors, yeah,
It was really
just felt
cohesive.
warm. Yeah, right. Cohesive's a good word for it. It was, the production was really good. And yeah, the acting was really good. Some of the score got on my nerves a little bit sometimes, but it wasn't. It was very far and few between. It's like what happens to me with the scores. If like all of a sudden I notice it, then I'm like, what the fuck, right? Because like you're not really supposed to notice it, right? But if it like takes over the scene, and it happened to me a couple times where I was just like only hearing the score, and I wasn't like, I like lost what was going on in the, but that might be just the musician in me too, where it's like I'm catching like a cool sequence in the score, but then like it takes me out of the movie, so I get annoyed because like what doesn't make me annoyed, and like I don't realize why I'm annoyed, right? Even though I was enjoying whatever I was just listening to,
This is the vicious
I'm
cycle.
out of my mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought
That's really
the
interesting
story-
music. Oh shit, it's in a movie
Oh
though.
shit!
It's very
Why am
distracting.
I
I don't
listening
like
to
the
this?
movie
This
anymore.
is fucked up. I'm watching the movie now. Right. The whole story was pretty. That would be scary times if people were sneaking into your house and running wires down your light switches and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you be able to tell if your wallpaper was like sticking out weird?
I don't know.
They ironed it over.
You would think you would check. Like if all your friends are wired, I'd be looking all over the place.
And they painted the
Yeah.
walls too, right? Because like they put it in the paint. Like wouldn't they have to paint over the wires or something?
No, they thread it through. They would thread it underneath.
Through
They
the
didn't have
paint?
time. Yeah, well, they underneath like the wallpaper stuff. Like, yeah, the paint can be like almost like a layer if you light a thin wire underneath it. I've done this.
I don't believe you, John.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
Anyway, they only had
makes
20
sense.
minutes supposedly when they were setting that up, though. I think they were like marking their time or something like that. So they
Right.
did, so
But I feel like I would be looking all over the place.
Yeah.
If all my friends were like, "Hey, quiet! There's a guy in the upstairs."
I mean,
listening
Where
in.
would you look though? Like I don't know. I wouldn't know where to look.
Oh, I'd
Yeah.
be tearing the house apart. I just have like all shit everywhere. Just like, light switches off, the fucking bulbs out. I'd be losing my shit. And then probably would be nothing there because who's listening,
that's right.
Right.
And there you are with all your
Yeah.
wallpaper torn
just
out.
like
and
just
people
like
walk
talking to
in,
myself.
And they wrap
pacing
you up
back
and take you to the
forth.
safe house.
Right, exactly. I just put myself in a fucking one of those, arm things. where
You
they-
got the jacket? Is
The
that
jacket,
good? You
yeah.
got it?
I just put myself in the
How did
straight
he
jacket.
secure it at the
no
back?
Big deal.
How did you do
I
that?
got it. I
Yeah.
can do this myself. It's a
Yeah,
trick
don't worry.
watch.
I'm doing
I
it myself.
Yeah,
I've been
it's
tearing
right.
apart the house for 2 weeks. There's
That's
no
right,
fucking. There's no microphones.
Kind of feel
Yeah.
good to be restrained, if you know what I mean. So.
Right. So, Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a good one. It was very interesting and very well done as far as production wise. So, yeah, I don't really have much else to say for that other than the fact that I'm glad I wasn't born in Germany at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Jesus, that was they definitely depicted just like such a creepy way of living for the Stasi.
It's weird.
They're just like
I don't even
monitoring.
think they like even show what the threat is. Like the only threat you actually see is they take away your job or something. But like, everyone is scared.
But that's
of
a
them.
huge threat.
It
right?
is pretty
Like,
big.
No. They throw you in prison though.
They don't show that
though. No, they don't, and they don't need to.
They don't.
In a way.
They don't mention it either. They just it's like it's a vague
Well,
threat
they
of like they can
describe
do
it.
whatever
I mean-
they want.
he did describe something like that, right? When they were doing the typewriter.
Yeah, and there's that one horrifying scene too where the guy's like talking to the I don't remember all their names, but we've got the two main bad guys. The one bad guy who's sort of
the
by the way,
mustache guy and the fat guy.
Before we say anything else, people should go watch this if you haven't seen it. We're going to spoil things, of course, but I think this is definitely worth watching. And
Agreed.
It's good to
Especially
watch.
if you
how
don't
it
mind
turns out.
subtitles.
Yeah, I really was
If you like dramas, I like this movie so much. When it came out, I showed my family, and they were all so restless by the end that. And here come the spoilers. My brother nicknamed this movie "D is for dump truck" for the scene where she gets creamed by the truck. That's how invested he was in the character.
That's all he remembers.
I think it depends
D
on
is-
who you are.
D is for dump truck.
D is for dump truck. Why? Not for Deutsch, but for dump truck.
That is funny. And also, yeah, way to go, Sean.
Yeah, but he didn't leave the room, so I don't know what that means. And I'm not sure he hated it, but he was, struggling with boredom. So
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's a lot of talking.
a lot of talk.
It's a
But
lot
like
of talking.
Anton is like the lieutenant above the Hetman, who's like our main guy, who's the bad guy first. But
Mustache guy.
Anton, but Anton's the guy who's like telling him where it's a point where he's about to like hand in what's going on. And he describes what they do to artists. He's like, you've got these different types, and this is what you do to this guy. You just don't let anybody talk to him for 10 years, and it just takes away their
10 months.
entire creative ability. It's awesome, or whatever.
Yeah.
10 months. And it was horrifying that they just sort of see it like this, that they're just like, yeah, this will really just, this will just stop all creativity.
So you're right, but they never show it.
No,
right?
no,
like
they
in
don't.
movies, they
But
usually
I
show
think-
you the scary thing, but this one doesn't show
they
you.
don't.
It's
This
you.
one, I think it's sort of interesting that they don't, because it's more about just kind of dread that you feel, and even not knowing what it's like. It's horrible. There's no question that it's horrible. It's bad.
And there's no question that they can do it if they want to.
Right. I mean, but there's the other parts that are motivating that you do see more of, like taking away people's careers and ability to perform at all. And it is sort of interesting to bring it up that the film shows much more of that than the other stuff, than like torture and imprisonment. What they show are the effects of the director who can't direct anymore. They just show like their ability to do art is dependent on the state, and if the state disagrees with you, that's gone. They just take it away from you. They won't let you publish, or they won't let you act, or they will find a way to just kill it. Again, this is really, really good. I really was amazed by it. At first, I like how it ended too. I thought the ending was it feels sort of melodramatic at times, but it worked. I don't know. It's like everything just sometimes fits together perfectly. Where like he's about to give away the writer, but then he just perfectly is intervened with by the guy over him, telling him this story about what they do with the artists. Everything just fits so neatly sometimes that it just seems a little bit fairy tale like or something like that. But it still is so chilling, and the characters are so well done. I think the acting is so well done, and this is a story. I mean, that this story is kind of about a redemption in a way, like our main guy is the bad guy at first. He becomes a sort of hero. And I think that's really awesome that the way we're introduced to him, he's talking to the class. We see what an expert like interrogator he is, and how much he's invested in the system. And basically he's an evil shit. And then you see him start to,
Or just a really good
question-
employee.
Well, right. Because
but even he believes his own bullshit at that
state.
time.
Right. But he believes in the state. He doesn't think the state is corrupted. So that's part of it, right? I think part of his transformation.
I don't know if he doesn't think the state
right.
isn't corrupted, but he does believe, like he's at least convinced himself that what he's doing is right.
Oh yeah, right.
Right.
And to show his journey to change that, I thought it was very well done. And you hate him at first, and you root for him towards the end. And part
he
of that
starts
is just
being a normal guy. That's,
part of it is just the really good acting. I think his expressions, and I think it would be again, it feels sort of melodramatic because everything's just so perfectly done, and things happen in such a way that to make it really, like again, fairy tale seeming, but his acting is so well done where you should.
It's all
see
done
his
so
angst and his
realistically
concern.
too,
Yeah,
right? Like it kind of
yeah.
seems like I don't know. I wouldn't say documentary, but it's very realistic in the way that it portrays things. There's like nothing stage
feels that
play
way.
or movie-like.
Other than what the circumstances are, which don't feel realistic sometimes, just because of how perfectly set up it is to produce the effect.
Right.
That's
Like,
produced,
I'm walking
sort of.
home. Oh, I'm driving by.
Right,
I'm coming to
that
pick you
kind of
up.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
Oh, I'm gonna drop you off. Don't worry. And then I'm gonna ring the bell. You know what I mean? Like there was so much, like there were so many things that happened there.
But as far as their interactions and
perfect,
expressions, it does feel very real, and I just was amazed. And again how they ended. He's sitting there when he's driving up to him. And he decides to drive away. I was like, "Oh, you can't do that. Don't end there. No."
Yeah.
I thought it could just end there. He could just drive away, and I could sort of understand that because he didn't want to. What was he going to say to the guy?
Exactly.
What would it mean?
Yeah.
And like this guy spied on him, but let him go. What the fuck? But then it does that, and I would have been okay with it ending there and been kind of sad, but it was just almost a sort of happy ending. And I don't know if there's do we have many other films where it's a freeze frame ending where it's like, all right, that worked. Yeah, was it Cool Hand Luke had the freeze frame on Old Blue Eyes, right?
Yep.
This is for me line in the freeze frame. I was like, oh, that was good. I thought that was so good. I don't know, man. I was just so impressed with this film. I tried to get Nikki to watch it again. She only watched the first part of it and then had to go to bed. But I really think this was just really, really good, really engaging, terrifying. So my book corner, I've got a book about modern China. Because
another off-topic book corner, yay!
Yes, but if you're like, oh, thank God, we're not in Germany at that time. Fucking China is worse. And it's
this
more
week's book
controlled
corner,
and
we
more
have
terrifying.
Calvin Hobbs, Volume 2.
Right,
We're going to go through the first 45 pages.
Exactly.
If you can edit it all out if you don't like it, but to me the terrifying thing is seeing this sort of stuff that's portrayed in the book. They talk about how this is what's going on in modern China, but with a lot more technology too. But I can talk about that a little bit later. But I think to me that
you don't need to wire a house. You just bug the phone. Like you have the phone on you at all times.
Yeah, you just
Yes, but what you also do is
phone.
you get the people so they don't care about the truth or anything. You just get them so distracted and not caring and distrustful of each other that your job's done. You don't have to worry about it so much. So it's really terrifying. I just think. Just so you can see this movie and think, oh, thank God we're not in the Cold War, and that doesn't happen nowadays. But it's really happening. It's seriously happening in China, and it's definitely all about the state and the party. The party controls the state, and it's all about loyalty to the party and how great the party is. And it's terrifying. And again, China is also becoming more and more powerful. So yeah, it's pretty spooky stuff.
I mean, anytime you're getting spied on, it's awful. It doesn't matter by who.
Not just spied on
miserable.
here, but the controlled, by the state, like
right.
controlled and told what to do and what not to do, and everything
When to
has
do
to
it,
conform
why to do it. Yeah.
with what the party wants, and everything has to make the party look good, and anything that makes the party look bad is your fault, and you can be criminalized for it. Like again, there's that line of where you can't say. Like he couldn't even. He was talking to the other guy. The one of the guys, like the writer was saying, "Oh yeah, this guy was blacklisted. We don't blacklist people. You can't even. The party does nothing wrong or bad.
Right,
it's all good that the party does. You cannot even bring up the idea that somebody.
Like, what are you talking about? They
knows,
blacklist him,
right?
Yeah,
Everybody knows the person's blacklisted, but just that is really terrifying and chilling. Just that you can just sit there and blatantly deny the facts. And everybody else around you has to deny it too. The writer himself has to be like, oh, yeah, I can't say that. You're right. Of course you don't.
Imagine that shit. That shit was crazy.
Terrifying.
I mean, you could see the fear in that was a good scene. I thought when they were at the lunch, like the cafeteria or whatever.
Oh yeah. He's playing with that kid.
And they were like fucking with that dude who was making jokes, and like you can't even make a joke.
That scene stuck out to me. Like since I last saw it, that one is really memorable.
The elevator scene I thought was also
with the little
really
kid.
memorable.
With the kid,
Yeah.
man, he was about to rip that dude's father apart.
Just instinctually, like automatically, he's like, "Who's your father?" And he stops himself.
What's your father's name?
I again thought that was really, really well done.
That was the first scene where he was changing, right?
Acting.
That was the very first one.
Yeah, that was probably the first scene. Yeah, that was the first scene where he like held back from his usual gut reaction, which is like, get this guy and police him.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
part of this is just really good acting, right? I think,
Yeah.
and very charismatic actors. Like they're really just everybody just about
Really
in there
good
was the
presence. Like
movie.
even when they're not saying anything, they are. Their presence is like every character has a presence almost.
Yeah. It's a very even the awful fat
Yep.
bad
He's
guy
scary.
does a
His
great
boss
job.
is scary.
Yeah. I mean, like
Even the
that
main character can be
scene-
scary sometimes, but sometimes not.
Yeah. That end scene where the writer is confronting like the fat guy who wanted his girlfriend, and I thought that was all again extremely well done by both actors and just sort of like very dramatic. And there's all kinds of stupid things. He could have like slapped him or punched him or whatever, and he didn't. None of that. It's just still all very tense and very well done. Yeah, this is a good film. I think it was. This is another one of those times where it's like I'm very thankful because even though I have to hang out with you guys and hate you, we still get to watch something like
Every
this.
once in a
and
while, the
it's-
list has a good movie.
Well, I wouldn't watch this. I wouldn't just seek this out
Yeah,
now.
me
It's
either.
just back then, and oh, great, it's going to be depressing and dark and about surveillance, and so I'm grateful for the list to watch this one because it is good.
Did you relate to the character being an artist and wearing headphones as we are now? Similar to that guy in the
Right?
attic? In an isolated room with headphones on, kind of just listening to other people?
Kind of just me.
Yeah.
I've got the setup here. If you look around me, I've totally got the basement. Like
You
the
have 3
unfinished
feet tall
basement sort of
stacks for
thing.
audio recording in there
Yeah,
for
right.
whatever reason.
Yep, that's right. I'm just sitting here.
And those headphones are uncomfortable as all hell. Those are old headphones
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right? Imagine wearing those 12 hours a day. Fuck that.
All that equipment was real Stasi equipment they got from
Oh, really?
museums, and they had this one contact that was a Stasi stuff collector, and they got most of their shit from this one guy who's just a weirdo that collects all this shit.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Like the letter opener was also real. Like all that technology stuff was real, which is pretty nuts. But yeah, I agree with you guys. This movie, I've seen it a few times. I really like it. I have some questions, but I agree that like the acting, I didn't get sick of the music. I think the music is some of the best stuff in this movie. Maybe second to acting for me. I really like, I sometimes don't like this, but in this one, it really tells you what you should be thinking, kind of, in a lot of the scenes. The music, when it comes in, what's like a good one? When she finally admits to where the that manuscript and typewriter are hidden, the music comes, like that's a really long scene, and it's really tense the entire time. You don't know what's going to happen, but as soon as like and there's no soundtrack for the beginning portion of it or whatever, but as soon as she admits to it, the soundtrack like slowly comes in and creeps and like does the like just makes it super dramatic. It just like adds to
and that was
what's already
again
happening.
it was an amazing scene and a great setup where they know each other. He knows what he has to do here. He can't not get the confession out of her. I don't know. It's just
and she already planned it. Like it's not unrealistic that she would turn on him. She didn't want to know where it was because she knows herself and she knows like she would probably do it. So it's like
don't
totally
tell me because
believable.
as soon as you do, I'm going to have to tell it to somebody else. Yeah, right.
Which
like the guy's going to pull up next to me again and he's going to ask me a question. And if I know, I can tell him.
Yeah.
Right.
So that just made it even more believable. There's a lot of good stuff like that in this.
Yeah,
I think there's like a couple of questions I have still. I don't know why the main character guy puts surveillance on the actor in the first place.
He just didn't like him, I thought.
Is that what it was?
That's all I got from it.
I thought it was that. No, I thought it was the fat guy really wanted to get dirt on the writer because he wanted his girl.
Well, that too.
Did they mention that? Because we learned about that later.
They sort of did later when they had that conversation.
They keep talking about. They keep alluding to like we find something on him. It's going to be good for us. We
or even
find
that conversation they had,
really...
like, so we're doing our dirty work for the fat guy.
Right. There were a couple.
He was like, do you know what that would mean to our careers if people found out about that? Right? They had that like
that's what
conversation.
I thought was.
But wasn't
I thought that was going on.
Didn't they speak to the fat boss after the main character asked his mustache boss guy? We don't know any of the names. This is bad, but
I think
he asked him
just
first before the mustache guy.
I think he
was
being Stasi guy. He was just being normal Stasi guy. Like, I don't like this guy. There's something about him. And then when he mentioned it to his boss, and his boss mentioned it to the fat guy, the fat guy was like, "I've been waiting for this."
Huh.
Yeah,
perfect.
Right. Yeah, so I think that worked
uncharacteristic of his character, though, right? Because he seems pretty thorough and good at his job. He doesn't just go around and say like surveillance. You know,
maybe they were trying to say that they got to that point where his character was like, so out of control with the Stasi shit.
But he himself didn't really want to do it necessarily. He was just like, he wasn't certain, but he still is a good soldier.
And for no reason. He didn't see anything suspicious happen, and he was
I
like,
thought it was just that he didn't like the looks of the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wanted to do it himself, which was the weird thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I just couldn't get it. Like, did he like him? Did he not like him? Did
maybe
he
was
the girl?
Interested. I mean, maybe he was just still fascinated a little bit by it too, and that might have sort of helped propel him, I guess. Just to be suspicious of him. I mean, he just seemed smart. He seemed like, he seems like he's not necessarily going to be a puppet or something like that. So you could like look at the writer and think, oh, this isn't some like passive guy who's just going to do whatever he's told.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the guy, Hauptmann, I don't know the main character, he does, when he breaks into his apartment, he lays on the couch and like reads a lot, I guess. Mm-hmm. So he's like attracted to art stuff. And there's a scene where like he cries when he's listening to
Beethoven.
Was it Beethoven or was it to the guy right?
Well, because he mentioned it. He said he mentioned Beethoven's one of his songs
afterwards. Yeah, but I think that was a custom. So I actually know this. That song was custom made by the guy who did the score for the movie, and the entire
the Sonata for a Good Man.
Yeah,
or
and that's the alternate title for the movie. It was almost named a Sonata for a Good Man.
So he just was talking about Beethoven as like the thing. To bring up that point,
right?
About
to compare how the music was supposed to be as good as Beethoven.
Like, how could you be a bad person if you loved this music? But it wasn't necessarily the song he was playing.
Yeah, and I was confused about that too until I watched the commentary track where they talked about how writer-director, that scene was the first idea that he had somebody that could just cry to a piece of music that was so good, and then all the other stuff about the Stasi during this period of time came afterwards to fit around that one single idea, which is a pretty weird thing to do. But
that is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it developed nicely.
It worked out.
There were a couple of harsh cuts. Just I noticed like 2 or 3 or something. Like when he's out playing soccer with the boy, it sometimes felt like a piece of the film was missing almost. The cut was so abrupt, like 2 or 3 times. Did you guys notice that? Just like these really hard edits early on? Okay.
I think I liked every edit. I think the movie was it flowed really, really well.
It did. It was the title. It was odd when the title came in. I didn't understand why the title came in when it did. Like they went to see the play and then bong, The Lives of Others. I was like, what?
I don't think I noticed.
Yeah. It was strange. I didn't understand that the title being right there. Then maybe if I watch it.
Because that's the whole, like the setup of the plot. It's like, now we're going to listen to The Lives of Others. That's the movie. There's the title. You guys get it?
Got it. No, I didn't get it.
Very direct.
I'm just going to go right over my head.
They didn't want to put any credits in the beginning of this movie either because they wanted to make it seem real and documentary style, which worked. I mean, that first scene, I'd say like the lunchroom scene, the end scene, the scene where D is for dump truck, that scene sticks out. And then the first scene where he describes to the class like how you tell if someone's lying or if someone is telling the truth.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That one's creepy. Yeah. It's really scary.
I've always wondered if that's true, but that has stuck with me. That's how I think that to be true because it just makes a lot of sense, but it could be not.
It's probably
true.
not true.
Yeah,
I think what people are going to do under torture has nothing to do with whether they are telling
the truth.
Maybe it does,
John.
Not.
Doesn't it make sense the way they present it in this movie? Come on, don't you believe it?
No. He certainly believes it, right?
He does.
But yeah.
This movie actually got a lot of permissions from the country to film in real locations. A lot of people try to make movies about the Stasi in this period of time. But this movie was so accurate, and it's like, so the story itself is a fiction, but like the background and like the setting and the facts around that sort of thing are all totally accurate. So that like all the people in the government were like, yes, you can make this, you can film here. So even though these characters didn't exist, like all this stuff did and could have happened, sort of thing. Yeah, I just think worse acted movies would probably, with the freeze frame at the end where the guy's like, this one's for me. Ha!
I know. Like,
that would have been bad, but it wasn't bad at all.
It could have been bad, but his eyes just seemed to show so much emotion about it. Like it just, again, you're totally right. It could have been cheesy or weird.
It's all underplayed. Like all the acting is really good, but it all seems somehow very realistic where they're very memorable characters. They're very threatening, but it's not like overdone for the camera at all. And it doesn't seem like people are reciting lines
Nicolas
or
Cage.
Like that. TC, did you do subs or dubs?
I did subs.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad? Are you glad you could like see how good their voices were? Like their actors' voices?
It was nice. It was nice. And I think And then John was it John, right, that mentioned it? Or was it you? I can't remember.
No, I think we both did. I think early last week we did.
I was
and
like,
I
well,
just
if
reminded you.
they're making a point about it, then I might as well. So, yeah, I watched the subs.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know. What else you guys got? John, you got Book Corner.
I have book
Wanna go
corner.
to
We can
book
try
corner?
this.
Let's
You
go
can
into
edit
book
this
corner.
out. So this is a book called...
You can edit this out. That's always a good
Don't
good
worry,
start.
you can edit this one out.
Yeah.
You guys are
right.
already
That's-
trashing
we'll
on it.
start it out.
So
Fucking
well,
China.
Chris,
What?
I was just interested to see like it's so again you see something like this and go, oh, thank God that doesn't go on, but it does. And it's scary in the way that is going on now. So
I don't think anybody thought, TC, did you think this has only happened once and it happened at the period of
it's probably
time during
going
this
on in
movie?
America,
It's never
too.
happened before or since.
Yeah, okay.
It's going on right
Maybe
now in
so.
America.
I don't
They
know.
just don't talk
Just
about it.
less
even
to a
what,
less
you know.
degree, right?
I tend to think that
China's
way.
like, yeah,
I
we're
don't think
doing that.
it's like-
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're definitely spying on them. Yeah, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, see? That's
Anyway,
just
you're
China.
right. So maybe I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. It seems like a lot of that stuff is distant or whatever, and we don't think about it.
Can you imagine
But,
what's going on in North Korea right now, dude? Like,
Right,
it's got to be
same
like
thing.
this times
Yeah.
100 probably.
Right, and yeah, because and people have been doing it for generations, right? So people have been like raised with it. Yeah, it's really crazy stuff. So you're right. So I don't know. I just try to think of like what sort of is the modern take on this. And this is a book called We Have Been Harmonized by Kai Strittmatter. I'm probably saying Kai's name wrong. I mean, again, they just talk about. I've only read like the first like 3 or 4 chapters of this, given it's been a week as usual. But they really just they talk about this book was just like the author in the preface was saying this book was born on the night Donald Trump was elected and was finished in the months that saw Xi Jinping, who's the leader in China now, chosen by history. So he also the author also sees some people. Some parallels just sort of with the way things have happened in the United States as well, and the kind of like sort of the sort of like messages and rhetoric that have gone on with like Trump and his like too, and how there are some parallels there. So like where you just you abolish facts, you sort of have like this fake news and alternative facts, and the point is not to it's not about the lies. It's about making everything just so confusing that you use this sort of shameless lie as an instrument of control. And that to me was interesting to read about, saying that that's really a technique of these kinds of governments too. You can do bald-faced lies. You don't have to lie eloquently or anything at all. You can lie straight out, and that can be part of how you control people, how you change the narrative. And to me, that's Turkey is doing this as well. The author notes too of it. You know, the author, I think I don't know if it's a man or woman. The author like lived in China as well. For quite some time before writing this book and leaving.
Isn't it hard to believe that all this stuff can be happening even though everyone has access to knowing that fake information is floating around? Yet still people fall for it
In China,
all over the place?
First of all, they can control a whole lot of it now. Initially, people thought the internet would like save China from being able to do that, but then China learned to control the internet.
Well, you can get a
internet.
VPN there. You can do that easily.
Yeah, but the
even
other
still,
the other
you're
thing,
not like I don't know.
right?
Man.
But the other thing that the author notes is that in China, a lot of people don't care. They're relatively prosperous, better than they used to be, and there's so much entertainment to be had. So yeah, they might use a VPN or whatever, but they use it to access Western entertainment. They don't care. I mean, they're
True.
like doing fine, thanks. So they don't. It's not really, they're not that motivated, and they've been told all these other things anyway, that there's just this lack of interest. And the author again like compares like George Orwell to Aldous Huxley. Like, so you have Brave New World versus 1984. And in Aldous Huxley Orwell was scared of people burning and banning books. And Huxley was scared of people not caring, not bothering to ban or burn books anymore because they just don't care. And that's this kind of detachment that the authors describe, where people just don't even care anymore, and so that's how the government wins too. If they don't, they get everybody just so like into hyper consumerism and things like that, and being entertained that they don't need to then control them so much because they're just they're just feeding on themselves.
I mean, what is life for if not for watching movies and eating cheeseburgers, right?
Right.
If you have those two things, what else do you need? You're fine. You can be controlled.
Actually, when it comes right down to it, not much. Let's be quite clear.
Yeah. Watch the screen, eat the food. Come on, that's all we need.
I mean, fuck.
And that's what they mean by harmonizing. They were going to stifle any voices of those who think differently. And so that's kind of the whole idea of harmonizing. And again, they're using big data and AI to help them as well. They're also they have this credit system where, if you are a good citizen, you can do more things. And because of the internet, they can track what you do. So you might.
That's a Black Mirror episode. That is for sure a Black Mirror episode.
It is. But they are doing this as well.
Did they take it from that Black Mirror episode? Or is Black Mirror not as original as they come out as?
This in China is called the social credit system. And it's from 2020 on, it's intended to record every action and transaction by each Chinese citizen in real time and respond to the sum of an individual's economic, social, and moral behavior with rewards and penalties.
Oh my God, that is fucking terrifying.
Yep.
So does that only apply to Chinese citizens? If you travel there,
Well,
do you have a score as well?
I don't know if you get a foreign score, right, as you're there.
Probably.
I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, that's scary.
So,
What if you
again-
live in a place where you're kind of off the grid? Do they have the capabilities of getting the billions of people into the system and tracking all of their individual? That sounds like a lot of freaking data.
Yeah.
It does, but they've been working on dealing with all
But
that
you can
kind
do
of
one
data for
thing.
some
You
time,
go
right?
to one bad website, say one bad thing, and that's it for you. And so that is another way that they'll be able to control people. That you'll just have to watch what you say.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I'll be fucked. I'll be dead or in jail within, first 10 minutes of that law.
What erase history? What does that mean? Shit.
Yeah, fuck.
And I think that, again, that's just the other thing. It's just we see things happening here. They're not our right wing, the Trumps and so forth. They're kind of stupid. They're not very intellectual about it. They don't seize on like China. These leaders can seize on socialism and Maoism, Mao Zedong, and all of these other things about where they're talking about freedom and democracy and have this ideology behind it that gives it some intellectualism about it. They seem to be a lot smarter in some ways in terms of how they've gone about this and how they talk to the people, whereas ours are, and maybe, but certainly they still have their sway. But our side, like the Trumps and the so ons, they just seem so stupid. But they still are working on things like racism and whatever the hot topic is today. That can incite their base and transgender.
Funny. That's a funny way to put it. Hey guys, all right, nice meeting. All right, thanks for coming to this meeting. What are we working on today? Racism. Yeah,
Right.
Let's try to get racism up.
Good.
Let's get it up, huh,
Yeah,
guys?
right.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Sounds
this
good.
is
All
like-
right.
yeah,
High
that's
five.
right. Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just put Donald Trump on the screen. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works
I
every
get
time.
what you're going for. Yeah.
Again, China's goals it's really ambitious what they're going to be doing.
Having the majority stake in Bitcoin.
Right.
That didn't
That
work
would
out.
be, well, I wish I did that.
Well, I mean, China corporations are having a stake in everything, though. A lot of game companies, media, things like that. So even outside of their country, China companies are starting to have more and more interest and buying up shares of existing media as well, too. So it's going to be harder for, say, a large media corporation to put out a blockbuster movie that's critical of China, for example. Partially because
They don't do that anyway right now.
They want China
because-
revenue, right?
I mean, they already don't do that, so
right,
that's not a big deal.
Yeah. It's just scary. So best of all, I mean, the author is just talking about just concerns like how do we deal with it in view of the lemming mentality in which many citizens of Western democracies have followed the pipes of right-wing populists and new would-be autocrats, and in view of the naivety and blinkered attitude of many Europeans who regard the comfort of their old world as God-given. It should be mandatory for all Europeans to spend a year living outside their comfort zones. They should be sent to Turkey, where democracy is being dismantled at lightning speed, or Russia, where lies and cynicism had long been the modus operandi of the state and daily life within it. And they would be brutally confronted with the logical endpoint of all these things, which is tyranny. And best of all, send them to China. In China, these Europeans would be lost for words at the ambition, the reckless pace of life, and the unshakable belief in the future, at the merciless competition of everyone with everyone else, and the untrammeled desire for wealth and power.
Stay in France, eat baguettes. Come on.
Sounds like
Yeah,
saying,
I know,
sounds
right?
like Los Angeles.
And I mean, it's not all, the author goes on, as an added bonus, they'd eat incomparably better food in China than they do at home and would get to meet a whole range of wonderful, warm people whose drive, energy, and courage is twice as impressive for the fact that it exists under a system like China's. Interesting stuff, and scary. Let me see. There's one sort of anecdote here that was sort of had a parallel to the movie. So I'll see what I'll do here. I'll actually try. But again, and in China, all over the place, they talk about, we are a free democratic country governed by the rule of law. They say that over and over again, freedom, democracy, the rule of law. That, again, they just say that stuff over and over and over again. And it's just That's what many people actually believe that there. That's what they've been told over and over and over again. This was just sort of interesting. It's like this idea that when you come to these autocrats, which are these would-be tyrants, the whole point, what they want to do is not to deceive, but to intimidate. So the primary intention of all these lives and so on is not about the deception. It's not about the lie itself. It's about control and fear. And that's what it's about. It's not about the facts. And I think that's something that we see a lot here too. I mean, the kind of things that the right-wing politicians say and so forth, it's really all about intimidation as well. It's also not just intimidation, but the authors goes on to say it's important to sow confusion, to disrupt the rationality and the reality, to give people a frame of reference, to take the compass away from the nation and the world. If you're a liar and a cheat, there's no way for you to win in a world that is repelled by these things, a world that differentiates between truth and lies. So you have to make everyone else a liar and a cheat too, and then you will at least be their liar. And this seems so true for like even what goes on in our country too. But a population that
all Republicans are liars now. Is that what you're saying?
A lot of the
the Democrats
too. And the Democrats all lie. They lie sometimes too.
All of them
about different stuff.
Sometimes they lie all the time.
But the point is you say that, okay, everyone lies, everybody is a liar and a cheat, and then where are you?
It's fine.
And then where are you, right?
Like, what are you going to do? You got to vote for one of the two parties, right?
So a population that no longer believes anything is robbed of its ability to think and to judge, and is ultimately of its capacity to act. So we're like, oh, they're all liars, and we're not going to do anything about it. These are the ideal subjects to have. People that are like, oh yeah, they're all bad. That's exactly, they win. That's how they win, right? So, and the mirror image of the liar's shamelessness is the shame of the person being lied to, at least while he remains aware of the nonsense that he's bolstering every day. And the act of repeating obvious untruths binds them to the liar with a rope of complicity. And in the end, the ruler's lies breed cynicism amongst the people being ruled, who make their peace with the powerlessness of their situation and ultimately cling to just one thing, the leader's power. At that point, the leader no longer has to account for anything because there's no truth left outside his fabrications. Anyway, it just is pretty interesting. And I think when something that you can see with someone like Trump over and over again, they just lie. They just flat out lie, and you can call them on the lies, and that doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter because it's not the point even. I mean, it's still good that they're, journalists and people that are trying to call out the lies of these kinds of people, but it doesn't matter. That's not what changes things. That doesn't fix the problem. It's like, oh, he lied. Oh, no. Okay, well, we don't like him anymore. That doesn't work. Okay, sorry. This is just maybe annoying.
Such good self-esteem, John. You got great self-esteem over there.
Yeah.
All right, this might suck entirely. You might want to cut this out.
Yeah,
I hope I'm not being annoying here.
Yeah, it's all right.
Anyway,
it's good information.
But if we say it, it's like, like it's just all equivalent. And there are actually people that are doing good, trying to do good things, trying to change things for the better. There are those kinds of people, but if you just say, oh, it all sucks, they all suck, all those politicians suck, everybody's just bad, everybody just lies, then you're at the mercy of any of the biggest liar, the people that are willing to take the most power. Anyway, I think this is a very good book. There's one, let me get to one notes about this.
Do you have a section in your bookshelf for all these movie books you're lining up as you go through?
A lot of these are digital.
That's right. You have a digital one. I keep forgetting that for some reason. I can't see what you're looking at.
So you can have your Zoom meetings in front of the bookshelf like they do on TV. Look at all these books behind me. I'm smart.
You got to hang the bookshelf from the rafters of the basement so they can see it at the angle.
Right, look.
Right. And again, one of the things that China is doing over and over again, too, is that any dissidents are being taken away, and then they come back and they're on TV apologizing. So there's a fair number of these interviews that go on where anybody who is an activist or civil rights or a lawyer or what have you, they'd be taken away, they'd be imprisoned, and then they would be put on TV apologizing. And with tears in their eyes, hoping that the party will forgive them. So that's a fairly common occurrence now too. And again, something that you could have seen like in, back in the Stasi and stuff like that, the way they would get people to confess.
All I know is if I'm ever interrogated after 48 hours, I'm just going to get really, really pissed. And I think they'll let me go.
Yeah. According to the thing in the beginning. Yeah.
One of the things too that so recently with the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan, province where this happened, and China really bungled the whole thing. They really messed up and really was very slow to react, very slow to sort of work on it, and sort of respond. And then they just were more concerned about who was going to blame who and who could they blame. And there was somebody.
Same as our country. Look at that. Look at the parallels
Right.
between China
But
and the U.S.
This guy was 69 years old. His name is Ren Zheqiang. He's an entrepreneur, party member, descendant of a powerful family. He wrote up an essay and published it about how the CCP, the government, China, was just trying to cover up their own scandal and refusing to admit anything was wrong and how they bungled the coronavirus. He published this, and then he was imprisoned right after that. Shortly afterwards, he's put in prison, and he was sentenced to, I think, 18 years, 12 years, 18 years. So now he's in prison for publishing a criticism of an essay, kind of like the guy in our story, kind of like the movie. So it's just interesting to read this book and see kind of the way people are in China and how they're just getting to the point where they don't care, and yet they're continuing and growing in power, and probably going to have a huge influence on our lives at some point. And they're this kind of government that we watched in our film, if not more so. So that's all.
Nice. Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean, this stuff's going to keep happening.
I actually had a couple more things I wanted to mention, or a question, I guess. TC mentioned the doorbell thing. One of the questions I had was why, like, what was the main character Stasi's intentions when he rang the doorbell to get the woman to go outside, or sorry, the man to go outside, the actor to go outside and see his girlfriend getting out of the car with the fat guy.
I think he wanted him to know that I forget what his words were there. Time for some. He said something. Time for some revelations, or time for some truth here.
Did he just want like to turn the TV channel up? Like did he just want some drama there, or what?
No, I think he wanted. I think he wanted him to know. I don't know. I think he was just wanting him to know. I don't know for sure. But I don't feel like he was just like wanting more.
It was a weird situation. I'm not sure what was going on there.
So was he more in favor of the actor guy than the woman? No,
he seemed to care very much about her, and he was very worried about her.
He did talk to her in the bar.
He went and grabbed and he went and rescued the typewriter. He was trying to save her.
But he's also the reason he fucked them he fucked them a couple times because he tried to like talk her out of it. But that's the reason she ended up he got mad at her. The fat guy got mad at her because she didn't go see him that night, which is the reason that she had to confess and why that whole thing in the end happened. And then she ran out.
That's true.
Got
so
killed.
Maybe he felt responsible, but yeah, he was still like tangled up into it. But he couldn't like denounce his party yet.
Plus, he also accidentally convinced the writer that his house wasn't bugged because he let slip the fact that he knew that someone was going to go travel or whatever.
Right, but he didn't know that was not
a test, right?
Yeah,
but still.
Yeah. Yeah,
don't you think he would have figured that out? No, he did figure that out, didn't he? Because like they were like, "Oh yeah, it's not bugged," and he's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, but you still think it was. I mean, why would you just not assume it's bugged? Why would you? That again seemed a little unrealistic in a way. It's like you'd assume just everywhere is bugged. If you're an artist, and you're a famous artist, you should assume that you're being watched.
I think that they thought that they gave it a test when they were yelling and screaming about the Stasi being idiots and the group, right? And nothing happened. So they assumed since they were yelling and screaming about the government being idiotic, that they were not being watched. But, homeboy was just waiting in the other building there, letting it go.
Where was he? Yeah, that's another question. Was he right above that apartment?
I thought so. I thought he was in the attic.
He had to be close to the wiring to the doorbell. But
then how do you
True.
how do you sneak up there every day?
Yeah, wouldn't you be seen?
That seems a little tricky.
Yeah, you would
isn't
just
it
say,
creaky up there?
well, that's true because it's the attic.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it's another apartment. Or was it? I couldn't tell.
I don't think so. It kind of looked like
an attic, right?
Looked like an attic. There was like no windows up there.
But he did have an elevator to it. You would think you wouldn't have an elevator to an attic. So maybe he was in an apartment and it was just, he'd just be like, yeah,
shitty windowless apartment on the top floor.
Because he was drawn where their rooms were.
Yeah.
So he obviously had the whole floor. So I don't know. It seemed like an attic, but you're right. He should be he's risking going downstairs every time. Plus, he just looks like Stasi.
No,
you know what I mean? Like he doesn't look like
an
an actor or someone nice.
Yeah.
He looks like this uptight little man.
He looks like Kevin Spacey.
Maybe it's
in a way.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he does.
Really?
Yeah, and then the writer looked like Antonio Banderas.
Oh, I thought like crossed with Steven Seagal.
Antonio
No.
Banderas.
Don't you think he's a German Antonio?
Yeah, whatever he is, he's very striking. I mean, he just looks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He just had a good look about him.
So I got some commentary stuff. The director did a commentary track. It's I might cut out some of this, John. I'm going to go with your words here.
Yeah,
Some of
well,
this
you
might
have
be
to edit
edited
this
out.
You're
I
so
don't know.
insecure. That's just annoying.
I'm not insecure about myself. I'm insecure about this trivia. Here we go.
Oh, well, I was insecure about my book too, but it's actually a very good book. So it's not. Anyway,
The main actor, Ulrich Muhi, I have no idea how to read German names.
Just say
The
Ulrich.
main Stasi guy, the main character of this
yeah.
movie was in this area during this period of time, and he was spied on. His wife of 6
Oh.
years actually was an informant on him. And a lot of he was in an acting group. He's one of the most famous people in Germany. The director said he's the Tom Hanks of Germany.
Oh wow.
Oh,
So that's pretty good. And he said Martina Gedeck, who's the main the actress in this movie,
Mhm.
is the Meryl Streep in Germany. So they're like the
Oh,
two
wow.
biggest
they're,
actors.
they're major actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had to work really hard to get them on there. But the Tom Hanks guy, he was spied on by like his co-theater people. He was in a theater group, and 4 of the theater guys were informants to the Stasi, and his wife of 6 years, also an informant. Totally
Jesus.
fucked up. He says that like this movie doesn't portray the worst that happens, and what he went through wasn't even as bad as what happens in this movie. But like even still, what he went through was like traumatizing, just because like the people he thought he knew and
well,
he could
yeah.
trust,
If
you
your
can't.
family,
Yeah.
and that happens like again in these cultural revolutions and stuff like that, like in China, that the parents turning on the children or the children turning on the parents more often, it's just terrifying. I mean, what does that do to you if your closest ones like turn you in?
Well,
Which, you know,
luckily,
yeah.
his perspective was pretty good, I think. He kind of forgave everybody that did it, and he puts the blame on the government forcing them. He knows like each individual one was forced to do it for some reason. It's not like they willingly did it. They had leverage against them. So he kind of understands that. It just sucks for him. But he has perspective on this whole thing. This writer-director only did short films before this movie, which is kind of surprising. He's actually only ever done 3 full-length movies.
Oh, wow.
And one of them was American. So this movie was his first one. It blew up. This was a $2 million budget. It made $77 million worldwide. That's a lot of fucking money for a small budget movie like this.
Oh, yeah.
It
It
won.
doesn't seem small budget at all
It
either.
doesn't, no.
I mean, what
he begged
does
everybody
actors
in it.
not get much? Yeah.
So, yeah, he begged all the actors. They were all... So the script, apparently, when he wrote it, it was in very good shape, and he used that to leverage all the actors. He also told all the actors that they were the ones that he wanted. He, begged individual actors. He didn't have number 2. Like he got number 1
Right.
for all the actors he wanted for all the roles. He got the person who wrote the score is a French composer, Gabriel Yared. He did The Talented Mr. Ripley, Cold Mountain, The English Patient, movies like that, big ass Hollywood movies. He gave him the scripts, or actually talked to him on the phone and talked to him in French, I guess, and was like, "Here's the idea. What do you think?" And he's like, "Sounds good. Translate it to French. Give it to me, and I'll think about it." So he spent a lot of time. He doesn't speak French, this writer-director, so he had to translate it himself, word by word to French, and then send it to him.
God.
And this Gabriel guy liked it and signed on.
Wow. Good on this director. This is impressive. Like what he did, like how he went and got
It was
all of these
grassroots,
people and
totally.
persuaded them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote it, he directed it, and he also got everybody on board.
Wow.
He was the site scouter as well. Like he went around Berlin to find places that weren't totally changed since the 80s.
Was the director writer? Did he have experience
No,
in Germany at that time? Or
no.
no?
He just found it to be a fascinating topic
Mm.
to write around his one scene where a guy cries when music is so beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, pretty strange. But he did 3 movies. After this movie was such a huge hit, Hollywood invited him in, as they so often do when they see cash.
Right.
He did the Johnny Depp vehicle, The Tourist. Remember that one?
Not really.
I
don't
remember
either.
it was terrible. Was it Julia Roberts
No,
too? I think?
Angelina
No.
Jolie also.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember that movie.
I
at
I
all.
don't think anyone saw it. It got
I
pretty bad
think-
reviews.
I
You think you saw
think
it?
he.
Huh.
I think there's like a really weird twist in that film.
Did you see it? You're gonna
Yeah,
spoil The
maybe.
Tourist right now? Don't do it,
Yeah,
John.
watch out.
Don't do it.
Shay Nut. Oh
Uh,
dear.
But he wrote the screenplay, but also Christopher McQuarrie also wrote the screenplay. And he's the guy who did all the Mission Impossible and The Edge of Tomorrow's. It looks like he co-wrote The Usual Suspects. Apparently they don't mesh.
Yeah, I saw The Tourist. It was bad, and it
was
had this
bad.
really weird twist. in
Same
it,
director,
too.
John. Can you believe it?
Well, I can because I don't know. They Hollywoodized it, right? Or
Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole different environment where he's there. maybe he's getting in, he's got editors or all kinds of people telling him what to do or not do.
Yeah, he worked on the editing on Lives of Others, probably not as much on the studio project that Johnny Depp was on.
Yeah.
But he got to go back to Germany and make another movie in 2018.
Hey, well,
an
it was The
18-year
Tourist.
break.
By the way, The Tourist was still successful with a $100 million budget. It made $278.
Thank you, Johnny Depp.
Wow.
Well, yeah, right.
that'll
And
do it.
Angelina Jolie too.
So successful
Yeah.
financially.
Put
Maybe
those
not.
two in a movie, you're going to make $300 million, apparently.
Jesus.
But he went back to Germany 8 years later, an 8-year break between The Tourist and this one called Never Look Away. Got nominated for 2 Oscars, which is pretty good. Didn't win either. Best foreign language film and also best cinematography. So it probably looks pretty good. Foreign movie getting.
Yeah, never heard about
a
this.
real
German
award.
artist Kurt Bernert has escaped East Germany and now lives in West Germany, but is tormented by his childhood under the Nazis and the GDR regime. So it sounds like some similar
It's
themes.
a sequel.
Oh, it's a sequel. Oh,
No, it's
shit.
not. It sounds like it.
It could be.
Yeah.
You're totally right, though.
They didn't do any post-production for the colors in this movie at all. All of like the greens and grays and browns were all just on camera, which is pretty cool. Because like a lot of movies now, you just film grain. Entire thing is blue,
True.
So they did find a street in Berlin that looked like the GDR back in the mid 80s, but it was covered in graffiti. So they had to go in and paint everything the first day of the shoot. When they came back for the second day of the shoot, everything was almost completely re-graffitied overnight. So they had to decide what they were going to do, either pay to have it be painted every day before they start shooting or hire armed guards. And it was cheaper to repaint it. So that's what they did. Every day they shot on that street, the exterior street.
They
scene.
repainted the. Oh my god!
The entire street. Pretty nuts.
Jeez, wow. Seems like such an undertaking.
He does give the actors a lot of credit. As he talked, he basically just praised everybody else. He seemed very excited that he got everybody that he wanted on the project.
Well, yeah.
Is that pretty good? That was mediocre.
That was good.
That was mediocre.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Would you put this in the top 250?
Yes.
DC, yes. John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. Would you recommend it to somebody who only likes Marvel movies?
No.
I'd recommend it to anybody to try.
Nice.
I think anybody should try this one. I think it's very engaging. Maybe you won't like it, but I still would recommend it
For
to
a movie
everybody.
that's kind of a slow talkie, it's really engaging, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's enough sort of suspense in it too that it might even if you're
It's
not
definitely an
used to
adult
this sort
movie,
of thing.
But
Well,
it's
yeah, I
not
wouldn't
confusing
recommend it
either,
to the
right?
kids.
It's like,
That's true.
No, it's very very well paced and
yeah.
But I mean, I can't imagine younger people liking this. Just because it deals with like thought, Sounds so bad. But it
There's no
just deals
faith in
with
the
like
youth in this
it deals
country.
with like, people talking a lot, It's not, and especially if you're not German, you got to read all the subs. Just in that alone.
If you have an
is a tough
aversion
thing
to
for young
words.
people in America.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think I like the positivity that you'd try anyway and see if they'd watch. Because it is a good movie. I definitely thought it was great. So.
I guess if somebody, I think the subtitle thing is the biggest aversion. When people ask me what like a good foreign movie, this is like one of the 3 movies I recommend to them.
Yeah, I have people that I know that if I were like, oh, it's a subtitle movie, they'd be like, fuck no, not watching it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then just like hands down, not even going to bother. And I think part of it too is like there's so much content now that like if you don't feel like reading subs, then just find something else to watch,
That's
right?
true. There's so much other stuff.
So people don't really think about like back in the day when independent films were cool, you'd be like, oh, I found this cool film you should watch. And they'd be like, oh, I'm into it.
No, it's true. It's again another reason. That's part of why I like that we're doing this list because I get assignments because otherwise I would just be doing
Yeah,
snacking
TC, that's
on
me,
whatever.
TC. I got you to watch Pig last week. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Come
That's what
on.
I'm saying. I fucking would never have
I still
watched
do that.
Pig.
You can still, there's still the nerds who find the cool indie movies with Nick
Well,
Cage
no,
about
I know they
pigs.
exist.
That is
It's
true,
just
but
not the masses.
I do it
you know?
because
Yeah.
of
Yeah, it
assignments.
never
I
was.
wouldn't
Was it?
do it if I wasn't
well,
doing this podcast.
I don't know. Maybe because we're from a place where like everyone was thinkers, Massachusetts. Everyone was like in academia and they like to think. They like to watch movies that make you think, right? You can't just go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just in my perception of things.
I don't know. It's
guess.
like half thinkers, half yellers over there. I don't know.
Well, I'm one of the yellers.
You can
right?
do both, John. You can do both.
He can think and yell.
Yeah, you just do it over beers.
All right, so next week we're changing paces here, guys.
What are we doing next week?
What are we doing?
I think we're going to watch the new James Bond movie next week.
Oh, right. That's going to be cool.
Do you want
Are
to
you
see?
down?
If-
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
I'm
want
in.
to.
I'm in.
and
I
you
want
said
to a
you're
lot.
in,
I
all
wanted
right.
to before, but John doesn't like 007.
You don't like
I guess.
James Bond? What the hell's wrong with you?
I don't know.
Have you seen all the James Bond movies, John?
No.
No. They're really good.
Yeah.
They're always high intensity, at least. So can't go wrong there.
All
Just
right.
put-
well, do I need? What do I do? I need
Yeah.
to catch up on the last 20 and
I mean, they're all kind of long. How much time do you have this week?
I have no time.
Oh, so okay, then the answer is no.
Right.
This one's almost 3 hours in itself.
Oh, Jesus.
course.
So, yeah, this is a normal week.
Well,
then.
we'll watch it. I think Nikki would be interested in watching it. So let's do it.
Kerry
All right.
Fukunaga is the director on this one. He
What
kept a
else
job
is-
this time.
What
Nice.
else did he do?
He did the first season of True Detective, and he was the guy
okay.
who got
Which
fired.
was really good.
Really good. And he was the guy who got fired from the first part of It. He was going to do the 2 It movies, but he got fired, making too many changes.
Oh, right. But did he complete the first part? Or he didn't even complete that first part.
No, I think he got, I'm not even sure he got a writing credit for it, but he worked on it for a long time and got fired.
Great. All right. Well, we'll learn more about him next week.
Yes, indeed. Get ready
Okay,
to
sounds good.
put your $20 bill into your PlayStation. You just feed it right through the slot there. You put the $20 bill.
That's right. And
It
then
used to be
and
for
then it spits it right
DVDs,
back
but
out.
now it's
Yeah.
all
It
cash.
just sucks
all
your money
the
out.
time.
Yeah, it's my Amazon machine. It takes all my money.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet. Talk to you guys
Okay.
then.
All
Enjoy.
All right. Take care, guys.
From